Let me ask Sherry Baker, if you would please, Sherry, to raise your hand. Where are you? Are you raising your hand? There you are. Thank you. I'm going to unmute you. Say hello to everybody, Sherry.
Hi, everybody. I'm here. Welcome.
From beautiful Florida, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. As you guys all know, today is going to be different than some of our previous webinars. It's going to be simply questions and answers. Sherry is going to assist me with some of those answers. The idea of today is this is going to be our last webinar for a while, and one of the questions I keep getting asked about that is, I have a project I want to do. Gee, Gary, what is your project, etc. So let me talk about that a little bit. One of the things that I've discovered since bringing out Optimal EFT some time ago is that people hear about it, they understand it differently. And I have to go back and look at how I have been portraying it, how I've been putting it out. I've got it on our website, got it the webinars, etc. But there is a need that I can see for a sort of a new way of approaching it. It's a new way of describing it. And that I need to focus on. I know myself well enough that if I keep doing all the other things that I do, I don't focus where I need to focus. And I keep getting messages from the other side. I guess that's the way to say it. I keep getting pestered, if you will, about writing a book or doing something about that. There needs to be a coherent way to do that brings together everything I've learned so far about how people are understanding this and new ideas and so on. So I'm in the process of that. My current thought is to write a book, maybe even a series of books that would be easily understood step by step, answer a lot of questions you're going to ask today, for example. So anyway, that's that part of it. Let me see, what else do I have here? Oh, I know one of the questions that I've got, by the way, thank you very much. I've gotten a number of questions that you've written to me, but I also want to address those that you want to ask me here on this webinar. But one of those is, Gary, would you mind defining optimal EFT for us? And I sort of figure everybody knows what that means. But I've got this definition down for optimal EFT is a healing process that combines the structure of EFT, quantum physics, and the spiritual dimension. We put all that together into a way to do this that has a number of benefits that many of you have been experiencing so far. But that would be the definition. Another thing I want to talk about up front that a lot of people have asked is they want to know what is the real difference between gold standard EFT, which is where we do all the tapping, and optimal EFT, where we do no tapping whatsoever. Does optimal EFT, does it just replace all of that? No. No. Optimal EFT is built on top of gold standard EFT. Optimal EFT, remember, involves the structure of EFT. Now, I got to back up here a second. Because there's so much commercialization of EFT on the internet, people get very confused about what EFT really is. So let me point out what it is not. EFT is not just a tapping system. Tap, 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 say some words and magic happens. I know it's portrayed that way in many cases, on the internet, but that's really not what it is. The tapping part of EFT can be learned by a 10-year-old. Okay, so it's not really tapping, so you shouldn't be equated with tapping. The real emphasis of EFT is, while we use the tapping, yes, it's the structure of it, the ability to get down to the details, to put on the table, if you will, the real issues that the client, or yourself if you are the client, may not even be aware of, or they need to be put on the table and reframed in such a way and so on. But there's a whole structure for that, which is built into our gold standard EFT tutorial. So what optimal EFT is the same thing as gold standard EFT, with all the abilities to get into the details of things, which can be very necessary in optimal EFT. Except instead of tapping, after we really identify the issue properly using the gold standard EFT methods, instead of tapping, we just bring in the unseen therapist. It's really that simple. It's really what optimal EFT is gold standard EFT, but we're bringing in unseen therapists instead of doing the tapping. Now, some confusion arises there because a lot of people will just come to optimal EFT and they'll start using the unseen therapist without all the other foundational material. And results are gained. Sometimes astonishing results. I mean, we've had results doing that I don't know any tappers who could do, okay, for example. And that's beginners using the unseen therapist. But that is a limited process. There's much more that can be gained if you also understand how to get down to the details and put more and more on the table. But anyway, I just want to make that point for now. Now, with all that in mind, I want to read something really beautiful to you, and then we're going to start, having questions answered and so on. One of the gratifying things about sitting in this chair is the number of people that are really getting benefits out of EFT, optimal EFT, and so on. And I get lots of letters, and they bring me to tears sometimes, and so on. But this is a letter by a lady who does not want to be identified for a lot of personal reasons of her own. We're going to call her Joan here, okay? But she's somebody who has really practiced and studied optimal EFT at a level where she's getting into the spiritual experiences that we're aiming for, similar to the one that I had in 1988, where there's just nothing there but love and its peace and its beauty, and it's just nothing like this, what our scientists are telling us, this illusionary world of separated bodies that we think we're in. But I want to read this to you because she wrote this to me. She had an experience along the way that she called it what it was like to die. And it's a little different than you might think. So let me read this to you. I would like to share with you one of my last spiritual experiences. And it is a feeling of dying, feeling of death, a feeling of a soul leaving a body. I was reading A Course in Miracles when the energy just filled my body. My third eye chakra opened very widely, and I was reminded how it is to die. The feeling I had was presented in a slow motion. My spirit started to move very slowly and gently up through my head. And I was going out from my body. I had an awareness of leaving the body, but I did not have the feeling that I was dying. It was just the opposite. I felt that I was still alive, yet unlimited. I recognized myself and could feel what I really am. Light, love, peace in the form of energy. In this altered state, there are no worries. You just are. I knew everything that is here down on earth, but I did not worry. I was totally peaceful, slow, and joyful. It was a surprising and pretty nice feeling. Now, there's more I want to read to you here, but that typifies very nicely the kind of spiritual experience I had in 1988. I mean, I didn't feel like I was dying, and I didn't equate it to that, but this sense of no worries, a sense of complete protection, this sense of love, this healing power that we're trying to access with optimal EFT was just there and beautifully typified in what she just said. Then there's a final paragraph. It says, all of this is wonderful, but I still feel like a little lost and confused child who does not know what to do with all of that. At the same time, for the last few days, I feel this huge and powerful amount of love that God has for each one of us. I'll get it. We are this. We are the same. We are equal. This love is beyond our senses. This love is everything. Just as it is in the universe, and we are this love. I'm sorry. I did not expect to do that. But that is so much the message that we're trying to get across here. And I know a lot of times we do this sort of mechanically and we ask questions and answers, but that is our message. Okay, with that in mind, Sherry, I know you have a question or two you might want to ask. We can break from this for a moment. We can start asking the questions and we'll get on to it. So go ahead, Sherry. I know you have at least one question you have there to ask, so go ahead.
Can I make a comment first?
Please.
Gary, that was beautiful. You had your own spiritual experience without having to leave the body as Joan did. You had it sitting right here in the body. You felt that same love, and that's what it feels like, is what you showed us.
Yeah, and the point about that is when we get there, and I don't always get there, okay, but when we get there, that's the state I keep talking about, where if I could get to it and maintain it, my mere presence, as well as yours and everybody else's who could get to that state, is healing in and of itself. All the rest of the mechanics become unnecessary when we get that high up the ladder. In the meantime, we got to climb a ladder. So anyway, you have a question. Go ahead, Sherry.
Okay. Well, we can just start right in, and I'll ask you how to use optimal EFT, or gold standard for that matter, for different issues. Like, for example, probably the most popular question, the most popular reason that people seek out a practitioner is for help with physical healing.
Yeah, and
including very difficult diseases.
Yeah,
you know?
And the answer to that, interestingly enough, is the same for everything. That's one of the things we try to point out here. It doesn't matter whether it's a serious disease or I want to shoot better golf, or a relationship issue, or a war trauma, or whatever the case may be. We use the very same method, whether it's tapping EFT or optimal EFT. The foundation is the same, and that is we want to first get down to the details of the issue. What is behind it? Now, in the case of a disease, well, one might say, well, it's because I've contracted a virus, or something else the medical profession may say is a cause. You know, my kidney isn't working well or something like that. Well, I want to know what causes the immune system not to handle the virus. I want to know what causes the kidney to do. I want to know what causes that. And the EFT approach is to make the assumption that the cause is always an unresolved emotional issue. And so we need to get the right skills, ask the right kind of questions, put these kind of things on the table. And once they're on the table, then we can tap, 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 and we start to reduce them. Or we bring in the unseen therapists, which, as we gain our skills with unseen therapists, we find that clearing the table is a lot faster and a lot more efficient than just the tapping process. The optimal EFT is not for everyone. Not everyone's spiritually involved. Some people even resist it. Some people even resent it. You know, other people grab onto it big time. So it's not for everybody. That's why we have both tapping and the optimal EFT. By the way, I see another hand raised here. Anybody here who wants to raise hands and start answering questions or asking questions? You may. I see Dorothea here. I'll get to her in a minute. But did that answer the question, Sherry?
Yes. Yes, I think it's interesting that some people say, I've got this serious disease, so I don't think EFT can help me. And at the other end of the spectrum, they'll say, well, I've got this little nuisance pain that's going on. Certainly unseen therapist isn't going to want to bother with something so irrelevant and simple. And the truth is, neither perception is correct.
Yeah.
It's not too hard and it's not too simple that unseen therapist doesn't want to be bothered. We are worth the bother. We are that important to God in the universe. So
yeah, and the other part of that is all of our ailments in the ultimate sense are unnecessary. So it doesn't matter, it's just a little headache today or I've got cancer all over my body. Both of them are screaming out, you don't know who you are really, you think you're separate. And that's really underneath all of this, your belief in separation. So they're all fair game. It really amounts to how much we can put on the table, how much our guard at the gate is hiding, if you will, you know, and how much we can put on the table. So yes, well said.
It's not so much the form. We tend to get real nervous and scared if it's a very serious looking issue, and not so much at the other spectrum. But, you know, the Course would say that there's only one problem, the idea that we are separated from the love inside ourselves. So for all practitioners, we shouldn't be afraid of anything that looks difficult, and we shouldn't mind working on things that don't seem so hard. It's all one problem.
Yeah. And by the way, for those who are new, when you talk about the Course, you're talking about A Course in Miracles, and you are here because you are an advanced student of a Course, who is assisting us along the way many times. So thank you, Sherry. Okay, I'm going to go on to Dorothea. She has a question. Go ahead, Dorothea.
Yeah, it wasn't a question exactly. Thank you for sharing your tears and sadness. And I value my tears. I think they're one of our greatest gifts. So thank you, and share some more.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Dorothea. All right. Claudia Logan.
Hi, Gary.
Hi.
So a big question that comes up a lot is, do we need to be a spiritual person or have a spiritual practice, not necessarily religious, but spiritual, to be able to use optimal? Because we're calling an unseen therapist who is source or...
Yeah, and that opens that up even to a wider question still. You know, like, do you have to be a student of A Course in Miracles? Do you have to believe in this? And when you ask the question, do you have to believe in these things? What level of belief? I mean, there's all these levels and etc. And so my answer to that question is, no, you don't have to believe in A Course in Miracles. You don't have to be a devout student of any kind of spiritual practice, etc. What's necessary here, I think, is that you are open to the idea that there's a spiritual presence. Whether or not you believe in all the details and the dogma, wherever else goes on, but there's a spiritual presence that is far more powerful in the healing sense than any man-made technique out there, including medicine, including EFT, including hypnosis, including the whole parade of things that are out there. So it's an openness that's the important piece in here. Now, I've often said that optimal EFT is a study of my path, and my path includes A Course in Miracles. But does that mean you need to be an expert in it or believe in it at all or even pick up the book? No. If you're going to study my path to the ultimate degree, you'll want to do that. But the essence of what we're doing here doesn't lean on anyone's particular spiritual path. Long answer to your question, but how did I do?
Good. So another question that comes up related to it. So have you had reported to you that the effects are more profound if someone is, higher up on the spiritual ladder or has studied A Course in Miracles or any of those things?
I don't know if I have reports about a study of A Course in Miracles. There are people who are, it's interesting. There are people who I think are really getting into this really well and are getting some really good results, fabulous results as a matter of fact. And there are other people who are just absolute newbies at it. And they will get some stunning stuff going on. They will also run into walls at other times. Okay, so that's one of our unknowns. It's one of the things I'm going to be exploring in this other way of portraying optimal EFT and writing books and this kind of stuff. So there is no tried and true answer. However, I think there is a difference for people who are skilled at getting down to the details of the issues and bringing them on the table. You don't always need to do that. Sometimes unseen therapists just because enough is on the table for it, and other times, we got to get more and more and more up there. So you need to have that skill to get the most out of it. I guess that's the way to say it.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Good.
More?
I'll let others ask, and then I'll raise my hand again.
All right. Hold on a second here. Where am I? Okay. Let me see. Carol.
Yes.
Hi, Carol.
Hi, Gary. I have a little bit of a maybe not question so much as an experience that I just want to share with you real quick.
Sure.
I have become a follower of your practicing over the last several weeks, and I do have the spiritual part to me as well. And I was watching some of the webinars that you've been putting out, and was watching your one with Shelley just before this actual presentation came on, and was working on my own issues, and got to experience the optimal EFT effect in action just a couple hours ago. And it was truly amazing to see that work in me, because I've been the skeptic.
Join the crowd, dear.
And so that skepticism, and to see, and I was talking with my spouse about it and the experience, and as we're talking and I'm processing it with him, a whole new piece opened up in my head. Like it was almost like I still had the unseen therapist in there going, and there's the other piece to the puzzle that you didn't quite see either at the time.
Yes.
And so I have so much peace in my heart about this issue, and I wouldn't even mind sharing the issue with you, but I don't want to take up a whole bunch of time either. But it was just is an amazing feeling that I have right now. And when you had that moment at the beginning about the feeling of love that you read through Joan, I got to experience with you that sensation, because I felt that at that moment as well from the unseen therapist, that feeling of love that you just talked about, and the spike
yes
that you mentioned. And so I know that those weren't tears of sadness that you experienced, but tears of that overwhelming love that comes
Yes.
over you.
Yeah, very true.
And so, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I want to interject one thing that's been coming to my attention more and more here recently, and you just emphasized it, and that is, while we're doing the optimal EFT process and we bring in unseen therapists, even though we may be hiding stuff, our guard at the gate may be hiding stuff and it's not on the table and so on, unseen therapists will bring to our attention stuff that's hiding. And it will say, bring this into the mix, etc. Now, is it perfect? I don't know. Depends on how much it's hidden. And these are all metaphors and ways to understand, what's really going on. But this whole bit about, a proper word here is surrendering, if you will, our own ego, our own need to be the great therapist in the sky for some people, okay, or the great healer of all time, and really surrender over to somebody a whole lot wiser than you or I will ever be to this. A lot of things happen, and the more we surrender, interesting term, but it's a true one, the more we surrender, the more we're going to get. And I'm starting to see more people surrendering, if you will, and allowing all this to happen, and you just talked about that, so
yes,
thank you.
Thank you so much. I do feel very blessed that I have, and I don't believe in coincidence, so I know that you've come into my life at this time and into me being able to share your work with the clients that I'm working with, and
Right.
Already seeing some tremendous effects in my practice. So thank you so much.
Well, Carol, as you see these effects, write them up for me, because I want to share them with other people. You can use assumed names if you don't want to regard privacy of your clients and stuff like that,
Okay.
But everybody, let me know what's going on. If you're getting these results and I don't know about it, I don't know about it. So, feedback is essential, okay?
Right. Yes.
All right. Thank you, Carol.
Thanks.
All right. Let's see. Barb at Life Transformations. Are you there, Barb?
Yep, I'm here. I'm
Okay.
right here.
All
Can
right.
you hear me?
Yes. Speak away.
Good. Well, I'm just going to give you a teeny bit of background of how I have followed you. I was connected with you through old EFT, and I have a manual, and you were the first source of me getting into tapping. And then, for whatever reason, I got drawn into some of the internet tapping, but always held yours as in the background. So I had foundation of old EFT, and then, Margaret Lynch and some of the others. And I always felt like something was missing. So I'm not sure, except I know that it was the hidden therapist who brought me back to you within the last couple weeks. So I just wanted to give you that background. I'm a coach. I have a professional coach. I have a background as a therapist. I'm no longer doing that model of work. And I also have a background as a nurse. So,
Okay.
my life has evolved into healing. I have been diagnosed this spring with myasthenia gravis. I don't know if you know what that is. It's an autoimmune disease involving the neuromuscular junction of muscle and nerve. I don't need to say any more.
Right.
It can bring on devastating weakness, and it can be fatal if it isn't controlled. I have been very fortunate. Mine has not been to that extent, and because early on in this, I was so confused that I surrendered because I didn't know what else to do. The right people were brought to me very quickly, and people go years waiting to be diagnosed, and I was diagnosed very quickly. So my question involves doing this for myself first, and where to start in what feels like this huge picture of, do I go directly to my belief, and this is the that's a key word for me. Do we looking at the emotion, that the belief that this was brought on by stress? Do I look at the symptoms? Do I look at the emotion that I am currently experiencing as a result of a dramatic life change? I mean, before December 19th, I was the Energizer Bunny, and the Energizer Bunny got unplugged overnight. So my question is that I can see this big picture for myself. Where's the starting point for this?
Okay. First of all, I've heard of the term myasthenia gravis, but I really don't know much about it. That's number one. Number two, I don't need to know anything about it. The medical profession
I'm aware of that.
The medical profession has thousands, if not tens of thousands, of labels for all kinds of physical ailments. And to me, from the EFT approach and the optimal EFT approach, we're always looking for cause, not for symptoms. Now, where to start for you if you want to aim it at symptoms? I often do that myself. I'll just aim it at symptoms. But typically for something like this, you're probably not going to get anything long-term. It's going to be temporary, partial. You might get lucky. You might. It's worth a try. Okay. But the odds are against you getting lucky long-term with a round or two and so on. Okay. So we want to get to the point of what causes it. And see, I'm going to spend a little time with you here, Barb, because this, and I've talked about this before with people, but this is an essential point, and I'm going to be answering a lot of questions as I do this, I know, okay? So, yeah, first of all, I'd also point out you went to old EFT, so by my original manual and all of that, and then you went to the internet and blah, 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 but all of that has been refined into something called the gold standard EFT tutorial, and it's all been updated. And
I've been studying. I want to let you know, I've been studying that very methodically.
Okay. All right. Great.
Of late.
Okay.
Okay.
And so one of the emphasis in there is that we want to look for cause. Now, you said something about you had this dramatic life change and so on, et cetera. What I look for. See, a dramatic life change is compared to something else, okay?
Right.
And I always want to go back. And one of the typical questions I ask somebody is, when did this first start? When did you first start your symptoms? I'm going to answer my own question as we go through this, but you might say to me, oh, it was 4 years ago or something like that, or 6 years ago, or last August or something. Okay. And so then I would ask the question, well, at or about that time, what emotional issues may have been going on? Death in the family, maybe? You lost a job, you're angry at somebody betrayed you, blah, 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 blah. Well, yeah, okay. So we find something around there maybe. And then I'm going to start aiming EFT at that emotional issue, okay? Because that appears to be at least a contributor to the cause. It's an emotional contributor to the cause. Now, we may or may not be successful there. Maybe we get a partial result. Maybe we get a bigger result. Maybe we get no result. We don't know. Okay. But chances are, I found this over time, that whatever may have happened this 4 years ago or whatever is probably bouncing off of something clear back into childhood that is unresolved. The time you were rejected, et cetera, and you've always felt unlovable ever since. I made that up, okay?
Right.
But the whole unlivability factor, in fact, I'm going to ask you a question, and I'm sorry if it puts you on the spot. Get mad at me.
I'm happy to do it.
Okay.
I'm happy to do it.
I want you to say a sentence for me. And once you've said the sentence, then pause a moment and assess for me on a scale of 0 to 10, how true does it feel? 10 is, boy, is that ever true? 100%, amen, okay? And 0 is, nah, okay? And here's the sentence, okay? Say it first and then give me I want to know how it feels, not how logically true it may be. I want to know how it feels.
Emotionally.
Emotionally, yeah. This is the sentence. I'm not lovable.
I'm not lovable. That's probably about a 5 or a 6, but the word that comes is unworthy. I'm not worthy.
Okay, good. Say I'm not worthy.
I'm not worthy.
Okay, that's closer to a 10, right? Okay,
Yeah.
okay, so I'm sorry for that, but it helps you, but it's also going to help other people, because this whole idea of I'm not lovable, I'm not worthy, I don't fit in, I don't count, I'm easily rejected, all these are in the same basket, okay?
Yes, yes.
All of that, I'm finding over the years tends to be a central global type issue under just about everything. Now,
Okay.
we can reduce that down into specific events. The time my mother said this, the time my teacher humiliated me, the time the all of this, specific events in your life. And we can use what we call our personal peace procedure to knock them down one at a time. Okay, all right. But underlying all of that is this whole bit of there's something wrong with me, I'm not lovable, that basket I just talked about. Okay.
I'm not good enough. You know, that's been a theme.
I'm not good enough. Yes, of
All the
course.
same basket.
All the same basket. Absolutely. Different words for the same basket. Okay.
Right.
Now, so this, and I'm getting a little theoretical here, but I'm answering a lot of questions people are having, I hope. Okay. This gets down into the ultimate cause that we find in optimal EFT for everything. See, with tapping gold standard EFT, we're looking at the unresolved emotional issues one has, you know, that contribute to all of that. With optimal EFT, we're going a step further. We're leaning on our scientists who are telling us that this whole world is an illusion. It doesn't really exist. We are all one instead. And the ultimate problem is our belief in separation. Now, see, we believe we are separated. As a result, it becomes a challenge to be lovable because everybody else is trying to be lovable, okay? They're trying to get love from you, all right? Yeah, they are, and you're trying to get it from them and so on. We're trying to get it from outside sources, out there some places where love is, instead of
And
inside.
it should look like.
Yeah, and it should look like all of that stuff, okay? But all of that comes from this belief in separation. Okay.
Yes, I get that.
Now,
I've done a lot of spiritual work and a lot of meditation work with Dr. Joe Dispenza, so it's all about we aren't separate.
Yeah, and Joe, I've talked to a time or two, and he's from the, you know, from the What the Bleep film and all of that, you know, with all these scientists that are talking about the very thing that we're talking about here. Okay, so when we bring in,
and by the way, he's a fan of EFT.
I know. But anyway, so. What I want to, when we do optimal EFT, Barb, and we bring in the unseen therapist's goal is a little different than what we want to impose upon it. We want to get rid of our headache or our myasthenia gravis, and we want to get rid of it now, okay? That's what we see as the problem. She sees the problem as the belief in separation.
Okay.
She knows that's the ultimate cause of whatever ails you, including the fact that you're mad at your neighbor for putting garbage on your front lawn or something, okay? So, you know, that's the cause of all of these things. So she's, as best she can, given what we're able to put on the table, aiming at that. At the same time, where she's able to unravel any part of that, an echo of that shows up in your physical self. Your myasthenia gravis gets better, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. So what I would do after all of that is I would do the personal peace procedure. Everybody listening in might want to write that down. The personal peace procedure, that is our workhorse item. If you do that properly, you can take care of just about anything with diligence, okay? And the essence of that is, but it's on our website, so read about it, okay?
I did.
Okay,
I haven't done it, but I've read about it.
Okay, so you want to go back in time and list all these specific events where you were unlovable, the basket, you know, all that stuff, or anything else that made you mad, guilty, or whatever. You want to list all those specific events, whether or not you can see a link from those to your myasthenia gravis and your physical symptoms, whether or not you see a link. Okay? And then for each one of those, I recommend doing optimal EFT, bringing the unseen therapist on each one of them, you know.
Okay. All right.
And collapse them one at a time, one at a time, one at a time. You can tap to do that as well. I just don't. I think you're going to get quite the efficiency of results.
Okay.
If you do that now, and if you do that substantially and do that significantly and all, you know, over time, what's likely to happen is your physical symptoms will likely fade. You will start getting from unseen therapists other issues you hadn't even thought about. Put those on your list, okay? A lot of times we just repress stuff. We don't want to get to that. We don't want, no, not that one. Okay.
Yeah, right. Not that one.
Yeah, not that one, because I did something I'm ashamed of, and I don't want. We'll talk about that one some other decade. Okay.
Right.
Okay. So anyway, long answer to your question. I hope it was helpful to a lot of people. Anything else?
No, it's very, very helpful to me. And do you ever find? Well, let me just not ask it as a theoretical question. I'll tell you an experience. On Friday, I used Gold EFT with a client, a very short stint. It was the first time we had met. She had great results. And over this weekend, I have figured out that I don't need as much medicine as I was taking. So I have cut my daytime dosage in half. And I'm experimenting as to whether. So my question to that is, in doing EFT for somebody else whose issue didn't appear to be the same as mine,
yeah,
does the, you know, the healer, so to speak, get results?
Yeah. That's let's go back to our scientists and our quantum physicists. They're telling us the world is an illusion. I mean, so is the Course in Miracles. So is all kinds of different inputs are telling us this. You know, it just conflicts with our everyday 24/7 senses. Okay, but nonetheless.
Yeah, you're right. That would be the oneness piece.
Yeah. So you are one with your client. In fact, your therapy sessions are going to be more productive when you recognize that the two of you are healing each other.
Yes, I get that.
You are equals in this sense, okay?
Yeah.
Very important concept.
Yes.
Okay.
And very much the coaching model that I was trained in at Newfield Network.
Yeah, okay.
So,
all right, we're going to move on, Barb.
Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. Let me see. Yossi had a hand up for a while, so go ahead, Yossi.
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
My first question, are there one guard at the gate or two guards at the gate? The two is one for the practitioner and one for the client.
That's interesting. Nobody's really ever asked me that. I put it together. First of all, you got to understand the guard at the gate is really a metaphor. Okay. It's a way to help us understand. And what it really represents is your own resistance to going into the oneness. That's what it really is. And so you have your guard at the gate, which is your resistance. Yes, so you have your guard at the gate. I have mine. So in one answer to your question is, yes, we all have our own. The other answer is, since we're all one, there's only one guard at the gate, okay? But it's probably easier for us to digest the idea that we have our own individual guard at the gate.
No, because I was doing the optimal, by the way, we have in a group and we are practicing a lot and getting very good results. But one of the time I did to a woman, and she is also familiar with the optimal EFT, and she said, when you did it, when you just started, I felt the guard at the gate is not letting me heal. But later I let him go, and then I was having the full effect.
Well, okay, that's really interesting input. I've had people say similar things to me once they understood this metaphor of the guard at the gate. So yeah, I've heard that some. Is that a question or just?
Yeah. Okay, I'm just saying, do you call them two? I guess you answer it, you do call them one guard at the gate, you just manifest in two places. I guess that is what you're saying, no?
Yeah, that's the way, when I'm talking with a client, for example, I'm making this something, they have a guard at the gate and I have a guard at the gate.
Okay.
And all that really is their resistance to the oneness and my resistance to the oneness. And the unseen therapist, by the way, has to deal with our resistances. It is limited only by our own resistance. That's an important thing to understand. It can take care of anything. There is no issue we can put on the table that it can't handle easily, except for our own resistance. And that's, as we climb our spiritual ladder with optimal EFT, as we do that, our resistance, our guard at the gate, tends to fade as we go up. So.
Now, sometimes, whatever you do, nothing works, okay? And for example, I saw in the first few videos, this woman, Carrie, I don't know if you remember her.
Yes.
And she is almost dead right now. So she by now had hundreds of different healings. What caused one person that whatever happened never get healed?
That's a mystery to me. We also have somebody that's been on our website for a while named Irwin and so on, and they have gotten no place with their physical symptoms, nowhere. And I don't have an answer for that other than the fact that despite how it appears, there's this resistance that goes on. In fact, Irwin will tell you about his resistance. He understands his resistance very well. He works on it a lot. Carrie doesn't understand it. And I can't really talk too much about Carrie. She's a private client of mine, and I can't give too much detail without her permission on that. But yeah, on the other hand, Carrie has had some enormously healing experiences, enormously healing. I mean, we took her from a place that was just way, way down, way up the ladder, to the fact that almost every symptom was gone. There was still an emotional issue. I can't get too far into it, but there was still an emotional issue that we kept working on. It seemed to be hovering around. We never really got to that. And next thing I know, there was a remission back. And I'm probably going to, after you tell me this, I'm going to probably go call her because I haven't talked to her. And
you want her to talk to her. She's not talking anymore.
Oh, she's not. Okay. Okay. Well, I can probably get a hold of her husband or something. But anyway, thank you for that. But that's one of the mysteries. We do not have perfection here. At least we don't have perfection as we would want to measure it here. Okay? All right. Anything more, Yossi?
That's it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Okay.
Gary, can I comment?
Please.
Regarding the resistance, the guard at the gate, A Course in Miracles says that the unseen therapist will not storm the gates, that she has tremendous patience and will simply await a time when we are not so fearful before moving forward. So it's not that she can't bulldoze the gates. It's just not something that the unseen therapist will do.
Yeah, and we touched on this in previous webinars, but I'm going to talk about it again a little bit. It's not that she's being unkind or anything like that. It's the idea that we are given complete free will, including to think what we want to do, have illusions if we want them. And for her to come in and say, oh, okay, your illusions are all gone, they're silly, go away, blah, 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 is doing us a major disservice because it is taking away from us our free will, a very unloving thing to do. Did I say it right?
Correct. Yes, beautiful. I just wanted to point that out.
Okay,
yes.
Great. All right.
But sometimes it isn't loving to move past it.
Say it again. Sometimes
Well,
what?
sometimes, as you said, sometimes it's not loving to storm the gate and heal the physical issue. It may be too soon. We may not have gotten the important message, or, you know, what have you. So.
Yeah. Okay. All right. All right. Let me go on here. Samuel Adams.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello, Gary. I have a question about permission.
Yeah.
This has come up a few times. Must we have permission from the person? Like, say if the person is unaware or is not looking at that, but we want to help them anyway. And I heard something recent. Someone told me today actually that they were helped by, or they helped someone else, and they didn't even ask for their help, but they had dramatic change. And they didn't even tell the person they were working on them, but they had a change anyway.
Uh-huh.
So to what level do we need permission? Say, for instance, my father had dementia, and I was thinking about like working with persons that older people that have different conditions like dementia. To what level do we need permission, or does it?
Well, yeah. Thank you for the question. This question has come up many, many times over the years, particularly in regards to what we call surrogate EFT, where you're doing something in behalf of somebody else, which is what you're talking about. So let me give you my brief answer to that, if I may. I have never, ever, 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 in all the years I've been doing this with surrogate EFT, ever had anybody have a bad experience because I was doing something surrogately. It's never happened. Never heard a complaint, nothing, okay? That doesn't mean I always get results, but it appears as though I'll either get a result, or they'll get a result, or nothing happens. But they don't, they don't break out in some disease or have headaches for 2 weeks or anything like that. That's never happened. That's on the one hand side, okay? The other thing is when you are doing this kind of thing, you're doing it with a loving intention. Now, I want to contrast that with something. Look back at your own life, Samuel, and I ask everybody else to do this as well. Are there times when you are really angry at somebody and you think all the nastiest thoughts you could about them, get off my planet or whatever the case may be, how can we drown you, or all kinds of bad things, okay, about how terrible they are, etc. Do you ever ask permission to have those thoughts?
No.
No, okay. And it's an interesting point. Why should we penalize something that has a loving intention, but, well, I got to ask permission first? So I don't bother. Is it polite to do it if you can? Yeah, sure. But I don't really get concerned about it myself. Now, people criticize me that for, so if you want to ask permission, ask permission. I just don't see where it's necessary. Somebody with dementia, they're not even they're not even able to give you the right answer if you ask permission. They don't know what you're talking about often. A crying baby in an airplane, you're going to go up and ask the baby, is it okay if I tap for you or do optimally for your whatever ails you? Are you going to ask the mother if you can do that in behalf of the baby? She's not going to understand you. And there's just all kinds of stuff where permission or asking permission gets in the way of a very loving thing. Stated another way, if you're going to think a very loving thought about somebody, you need to ask permission first?
No.
Okay. It's an interesting thing. People bring that up because somehow or other there's something out there about, oh, you better ask permission. Ask it of God, or ask it of them, or ask it of something. Okay. If that works, if you feel the need, go ahead. I have yet to feel the need for that.
Okay, so my second question comes, maybe it's wise then to ask the Spirit whether this person actually wants or even can receive this healing first, so that they can actually, so whether it's worth spending my time doing it, or if they're so taken, if they're not able to receive it, then my time is more important spent on someone that can receive it.
Well, yes, but that leads to something else which is very, very important in all of this. The more we do optimal EFT, that is, the more we are communicating with unseen therapists, getting used to her, and so on, establishing the better and better connection, the more we're going to be listening and the more we will be asking unseen therapists for guidance on everything, whether we're in a therapy session or, whether or not you should, buy new socks today, okay, or something like that, okay? You get in the habit of you're asking everything about them. So, yes, to get in the habit of doing that, great. I mean, that's something we're aiming towards, okay?
Okay.
All right. Hold on one second. I don't know. Somebody's.
Sorry, that's me. That's the background. There's a lot of noise going on. That's me. Sorry.
All right.
Sorry. It's my son. He's screaming.
That's okay. All right. Well, that answer the question for you?
Yes, there was one thing I wanted to ask.
Uh-huh.
Or not to tell.
It's okay. Go ahead.
Basically, I've been in, it's almost like part of what I do this, I'm seeing, when someone tells me what they're experiencing, I see the whole scene. And then once I'm in front of the scene, or I see it as a third person, or sometimes I go into the person as though I am them, but then I surrender. And then the whole scene takes on a new, I often see different, very fascinating things, but I will put myself in the scene and then I'll say, okay, spirit, you take over, and I'll see things like people's skin being ripped off and they just, inside they're glowing, and I'll see people flying around and their angel wings will come out, and many different visualizations. But,
okay.
Yeah.
That to me, I mean, everybody would do this differently, okay? But that to me, the whole idea of surrender and getting into it, the idea of truly surrendering is another way to say that is you're taking the guard at the gate and dismissing it if you're actually truly 100% surrendering, because it's all in the hands of unseen therapists. Everything is given over at that point. Now, whether you have totally surrendered, I don't know, okay? But to the extent you have surrendered some, even a lot, that has a lot to do with fading our guard at the gate, because you're going to get much better results if you've done that.
Okay.
All right?
Okay. All right. Thank you. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Samuel. Okay, Dean.
Hi, Gary.
Hi, Dean.
For example, I have a friend who has a husband with a couple of problems. Well, actually, anybody with any health problem. If I imagine myself being that person, and then let's say I imagine, like in this one person's example, tumors, in my liver now, because I'm that person, like inside me. There's a part of me that says, oh, I don't want to picture that inside my body. I don't think that's going to be healthy or effective.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
So I'm kind of looking for a way to be comfortable, because I very easily imagine and image things whether I try or not. So I'm looking for an effective way to do that and be comfortable and not take it on.
Okay, I do that myself. If somebody would have tumor, I would imagine having a tumor on my lung or something like that. And then I imagine, that unseen therapist comes in and resolves all of that. That's just what I do. Okay, but that all centers around the idea that I imagine that I am you if you're my client. Okay, I step inside your shoes. Now, early on in this, we had a number of people really objected to that because they were empaths. And they would take on somebody's emotional issues, and they'd get all worked up for quite a while. And physical issues and so on. And so there's another way to go about it, and that is imagine the person out there someplace who is having these tumors, for example, and has it in their lungs or wherever they have them, and then bring an unseen therapist to resolve it, but share rather than be. I mean, share the love rather than be them and then bring in love. You can just share it with them. Just imagine being in a very loving state and sharing that love with the tumors, with the person. Imagine the person with their emotional issues that may be causing, you know, those tumors and so on. So you share it rather than be somebody. This is another way to do it, and it's been very effective. I've done it myself with great effect. I just prefer to be somebody.
So it's like, yeah, you know, the spirit, love, etc., has come through me, and then I'm simply, you know, sending it over. Let's say I have the person outside of me over there somewhere.
Yes.
I'm simply sending it over and just sharing it that way, or any way that it occurs to me, really.
Yeah. Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. The unseen therapist doesn't need really all of our dogma and all of our routines. These rituals, these are for us to have a structure to work with. Am I helping?
Oh, totally. Yeah. And it's kind of things I've thought of, but it's good to hear. It's good to hear that you and some others have you know, used it and made it work in that fashion.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
And regarding the unseen therapist and the guard at the gate, as it were, I've thought about this many times and a lot more today, listening to everybody talk. It seems like you can also simply ask the unseen therapist, say, hey, you know, let's resolve these fears and whatever other doubts that have these that create these resistances.
Well, you could. Yes. The issue there is your chances are. I mean, wouldn't it be nice if I could just say, oh, unseen therapist, take every fear I've ever had since I was, you know, born. And please, you know, in one little sentence, let's just wipe all those out, okay? So I'm not afraid of anything. I have no, you know, et cetera. Well, that's a nice thought. And if it wasn't for a guard at the gate that's hiding a whole bunch of that, it would be done instantly, okay? That's why we need to get down to specifics and put more and more and more on the table. And each time we do that, we climb up our ladder another rung or two and so on. So great idea. And if you can pull it off, let me know.
Okay, I'm going to work on that because I love the idea of it.
Okay.
One quick thing about practicing with others, because I've been on the practice groups page and started emailing people. This is really it's not so, except for those who may have set them up in their own little network. It's not really so much practice groups. It's finding like an optimal EFT partner. Is that correct?
Well, we have that list. There's a lot of people there. The idea of it was people would get together in groups, etc. But if you end up just finding a optimal EFT buddy, so be it. That's a group.
Okay. Yeah, because I started emailing and not getting a lot of response yet, but I'm going to keep at it. Okay.
Okay. All right. Great.
Thanks a lot.
All right. Thanks, Dean. Okay. Let me see. Pam Lee. Are you there?
Gary. Yep, I'm here, Gary. Hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I don't see you yet. Say some more.
Okay, I'm still here.
There. Well,
I don't know. Maybe you're not meant to see me.
Well, I can see you fine now. Aren't you delightful looking? Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, this is a little bit of a lead up to my question. Okay.
Okay.
Since about 2001, I've been following you in EFT. I've studied all your library of CDs and all your videos, your online videos. And anytime I'm aware of anything new, I'm sure to watch it and study it. Okay, I just find you really intriguing, and I love this technique.
Okay.
I don't seem to get any results at all. I just don't seem to get results for my own issues. I should know the detective work by now because, you know, I've been doing this for so long and I've been studying it for so long and I've practiced so much, but I don't get any results.
Are you in the healing fields? Are you a therapist?
No, I'm not.
Okay,
No.
so you are doing this strictly for yourself.
Strictly for myself, and I like to be able to help others, so I'll do it surrogately, because I don't have the confidence in myself, because I don't see results, so I don't have the confidence, but I feel that if I can do it surrogately, anything that I can offer is going to help.
When you try it surrogately with somebody else,
That's not my question.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Okay, my issues are, that's not my question. My question is, I'm wondering what it is about EFT and optimal EFT that keeps me engaged in it. It just keeps drawing me in. It draws me in all the time, and I don't know why. Anything else, I would have given up on it like a long, long time ago, but I still keep coming back. And I don't know. I'm just really intrigued. And the same with the Course in Miracles. I get the same thing with that.
Okay. Well, somehow or other, it's calling to you. I don't, I don't know why it calls to you. It calls to a lot of people. Okay. I mean, as far as I can tell, EFT is the most imitated healing process ever in the history of mankind. There are all kinds of people out imitating in one way, shape, or another, which I guess is a great big compliment on the one hand, okay? But why you aren't getting the results? Now, okay, I have to speculate some, Pam, but I thank you for the question, because this is going to be useful, I think, for others as well. It's probably not that you don't understand the details of it, because apparently you've studied it for years and years and seen all the videos and everything else, etc. Okay. It's probably your guard at the gate doesn't want to have anything to do with it. Okay. Now, a way to get around that, perhaps, is to contact somebody who is really, really good at this. Somebody else can see your issues differently than you can. They can see it from a different place. There is also the love connection. See, love is meant to be shared, not solo. It doesn't mean you can't have loving thoughts solo, but it's a shared kind of thing. And so sometimes when you share with somebody, share with the right kind of therapist that you warm up to correctly, you're going to start getting results. Now, I'm going to give a little commercial for Sherry here. She's very good at that. You can contact Sherry. There's also people listed on our website who've been trained at very high levels in all of this. They're trained at the gold standard tapping level, but they can also assist you. Does that fit or not?
Yes, it does. It does, yes. I have talked to Sherry before in an email, and she was very, very helpful to me. Yeah, in another issue on Course in Miracles stuff.
Yeah, okay. How are you doing with the Course in Miracles? Have you been studying that? Are you getting that? Are you getting results?
As far as the book goes, I am so lost in that book. I can't get very far in it. But I'm second year of going through the lessons. Mm-hmm. I do have a question on Course in Miracles, but that might be better aimed at Sherry, maybe, in a different time.
Ask it now.
Okay, I have it written down.
Okay.
The Course says, I don't know these exact words, but we are living in a dream and everything is an illusion. When it comes to situations like the fires in Alberta and the flooding in Texas and the poisoning of our food by the large corporations, I feel moved to make a difference in whatever way I can. If these situations are illusions and not real, is it senseless to think any contribution will help to solve these things that are not there? I sort of get caught up in this, and my mind kind of goes around and around, and it's like a catch-22. And
Okay.
I don't know whether it's senseless for me to try and contribute towards this.
Well, okay.
That's it.
I'm sure Sherry's going to have a thought or two, but let me give you my thoughts on that as well. Yes, there are lots of things going on in this world that, of course, beg for our attention because we believe we're in this separated thing, and we believe these things are happening, even though they aren't really. It's like a dream where it's not really happening, okay? But nonetheless, the Course also says you have decisions to make while you are here. And I've often said before, a pedophile may be a beautiful soul on one level, but I'm not about to have a pedophile babysit my grandchildren. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
So the flooding going on and the other disasters that happen in the world, to the extent you can assist in those, from my view, that assistance is echoing a love on your part. And so therein becomes the value in it, even though it is an illusion. That's my view. Sherry, chime in here, would you?
That's a beautiful point. I don't think A Course in Miracles would tell us to sit back on our couch and just look at all the things that are happening in the world that aren't so loving. It would absolutely say if you feel a desire to do anything to assist, by all means do it. At the same time, what it tells us is that there is nothing out there except a reflection of what's in here. So one of the best ways we can all contribute to the healing of the quote-unquote world is to take care of our own inner turmoil, since that is what is reflecting out and quote-unquote causing all of these kind of negative things. So we all have a desire to rush out there to try to fix something when really the problem is within each one of us. So that's often one of the best ways to make an impact, is to heal your own negative thinking, to help others do the same. You're actually contributing quite a bit to helping the issues that you see out there.
Yeah, but by the same token, if you want to go help somebody in a disaster, go do it, illusion or otherwise.
Yes, the guard at the gate can use anything to keep us stuck, and it can use A Course in Miracles. It would love nothing better for us all to think that we're powerless to do anything out in the world and just to sit at home on our couch and wait for a bucket of water to dump on our heads to wake us up. It would love for us to think that. So it is just fine to go out into the world and be loving. That's a wonderful thing to do.
All right, great. Okay, all right. Anything more, Pam?
No, that's all. Thank you, Gary.
All right, thanks, Pam.
Thank you very much.
All right, bye. Okay, Gabriella.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Oh, I can hear you fine.
Okay, great. We're having a bit of a storm here. So
I love, wait. I love your curly hair. Even though it's an illusion, I love the curly hair. Okay, go ahead.
You're frizzy today because it's humid here. I'm calling from Croatia, by the way. I'm in the middle of nowhere in Croatia.
Yes.
Okay, I have two questions. One has to do with affirmations. When I first started doing EFT, I was doing the gold standard, and there were ways to tap on the tail enders. And now I'm wondering, do you even need to do affirmations? I'm doing optimal EFT now. Do you even need to bother doing them?
Well, okay. So the affirmation part, that actually came from something I called once upon a time the Palace of Possibility.
Palace of Possibility, yeah.
And the idea was we would let's say we had a weight problem, for example. And so we would do an affirmation like, maybe you weigh 200 pounds, you want to weigh 120. So your affirmation is my normal weight's 120, and that's what I weigh, 120 pounds, et cetera, et cetera. Of course, you're lying. That's true, but you're trying to condition your brain otherwise with affirmations. Okay, but one reason affirmations don't work consistently well is because when you do that affirmation, you weigh 200 pounds, now you want to be, you say you're 120, you get these, what we call tail enders show up, and they become the real affirmations, the one that say, who are you trying to kid, fatso, da-da-da-da, or who are you trying to kid because if you lost that weight, then men are going to hit on you and you don't want that, or maybe they won't hit on you and you feel like you're not loved, or you just gain your weight back anyway, da-da. All those other affirmations, all those other tail enders show up. They are the real affirmations, and they also show you areas that you can tap on. That's the point. Did I summarize that right for everybody?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I haven't used that. You can still use that. It's a perfectly useful tool to do that. I just haven't used it for a long time. Thank you for reminding me.
Well, I was wondering if you still need it, because it seems like with optimal EFT, you figure out the tail ender, but you sort of turn it over to the unseen therapist and then ask her to resolve it. And now it seems like doing affirmations is sort of saying, okay, unseen therapist, I know you resolved this, but I'm going to keep thinking about it or something. It doesn't seem to match up or something.
Well, okay, there's 2 steps to both gold standard EFT and optimal EFT. That is, you identify the problem, number 1. Number 2, you bring peace to the system regarding that problem. With gold standard EFT, you do it by mechanically tapping. Optimal EFT, you bring in unseen therapists. But the first one, the identifying the issue, is really the part we're talking about here. So you want to identify the issue in as much detail as you can, typically. And if you want to use the affirmation way to go about it, that is another way to identify the issue and put more on the table. The example that I gave about, the tail ender affirmation would be, who are you kidding, fatso, da-da-da-da-da. Those are not specific events. You want to go from there to the specific events in your life. When father called you fatso in front of your friends when you were 6 years old, and you've been angry, mortified, and guilty ever since. Are you with me?
Okay.
It's a way to find, it's a way to help specifically identify the issue.
Okay. I asked that because it leads to my second question, which is sort of involved. I've been doing, I started with the gold standard EFT about 3 months ago now, and then quickly moved into optimal EFT. And I also started the Course in Miracles. So I've been doing a lot in these last few weeks.
I'll say.
And I've been having crazy, profound results, like mind-blowing results.
Well, wait a minute. Wait. Before you go any further. And I'm speaking not only to you, but to everybody else listening in. These crazy, profound results, would you mind letting me know what you are, writing them up for me, sending them to me?
Well, I'm going to. I was waiting because I thought it might be one of those things where, because I'm not a therapist, I'm not in that world. I work, I have a little small organic farm in the countryside, so I don't do therapy. So I thought, oh, maybe it's one of those things where I'll have some big result and then it'll fizzle, and you know what I mean?
Yeah,
but not only has it been huge, it's really life-changing, and it keeps growing. And I was keeping it secret from everybody.
No,
I did. It just, in case it doesn't last, I didn't want everyone coming and saying, are you crazy or something? I mean, these are huge, huge things. So now people are noticing, and I'm telling them what's going on. And they've been asking me about tapping. In the beginning, it was about tapping, and I was trying to explain this, and I gave them your website. And of course, what they all want to know is, how do I make more money? How do I lose weight? And it got out of hand, so I just told everyone, look, I'm new. I don't quite know how to do this, but I directed them to your website and to all the resources of people to contact us. And a lot of people started telling me their deepest, darkest secrets, and I told them, I'm not a therapist. I don't know how to handle it. Not yet, at least. But so I'm sending them off to people who know what they're doing. But that leads me to my second question, which is this. I'm having great difficulty living a normal life. I don't know how to be normal with people anymore, because to me, it's like it's like someone changed my eyeballs, and I'm seeing the world in such a totally different way. And I know I'm still very early in my journey, but it's already changed so much that so much stuff I used to see, it's like useless to me. And I know it's all changing. And when I'm with my regular people who aren't interested in the Course in Miracles part, nobody wants to hear about that stuff. So, but when I'm with people and they want to have coffee and they want to complain about their husbands or their jobs, I have to control myself from jumping in and going, well, you know, there's another way to look at that. And they don't want that. I realize that's where they are in their journey and I need to leave them alone. But I have trouble being, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. I kind of feel like, what am I supposed to do? So I feel very weird.
Yes. Yeah. I have had conversations with people that have had similar things. They would have a spiritual experience, something like mine. It would last for a couple of weeks sometimes. Okay. And they function fine in the world, but they also have all these questions that come up. They would just see everything as perfect, and then when people would complain, etc., it's just like it didn't fit what reality was. Okay, you're nodding your head. I gather it's
yes.
Yeah, okay. I think the thing, and Sherry may have a thought on this as well, but I think the thing to do is to get to the point where you, and we already made this point earlier, that you begin listening to unseen therapists, or Course in Miracles terms Holy Spirit, okay, but you start listening to this guide and ask the guidance what to say or how to respond. Now, for myself personally, I've been through what you've been through, and I often will be on a phone call with somebody, for example, and they will say something that I know is really, it's taking them clearly in the wrong direction. But I also know that if I sit there and try to correct them in some fashion, that they're going to resent me or not get it, because there's just too much deep stuff underneath it that I have to spend 2 days going over all of that before I can finally make the point. Okay. So I've developed the ability, and I think I'm listening, all the time. I developed the ability to listen, nod my head, and I might say something like, well, that's a way to look at it. Yeah, just maybe a discussion for another point, but and we go on to something else. But I give them some kind of acknowledgement for the moment. I don't go say, oh, isn't that right? I don't do that, because I don't buy it. Okay. But I do what I can at the moment. And the world, the more we get into all of this, the more we're going to find how far afield we were at one point, and then other people are echoing where we were, and who was it?
Yeah.
I remember listening. Who was it? It was Tony Robbins. This was decades ago. I was listening to Tony Robbins, and he was standing up on stage, and he says, when you guys get to where I am now, you'll be where I was.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Sherry, did you have something?
Sure. In addition to that, because I found myself in similar situations, of course, and I know A Course in Miracles would not want us to hit people over the head with the book. It would say, as you did, I think we get an intuitive invitation in those instances to either say something or not. And we develop the ability to hear, should I say something, should I keep quiet? But in addition to that, I know that the Course would absolutely advise that as a teacher of God, which is what we are, and to teach is to demonstrate, our job is not to say or do anything. As a teacher of God, our job is merely to serve. Our presence, it says, serves as a reminder to people that they have another choice of how to see something. It's not a matter of saying or doing. It's just a matter of being that presence to remind them that there is another way.
And the other person will pick that up. They will at some level they'll pick that up.
Okay. Great. That's it. Great.
All right. Oh well, no,
nice
that's not it. You owe me a feedback, dear.
I'm kind of scared to write it. I don't know. I'm scared if I put this down that it's real. I mean, I ask my husband about all the time, is this really happening? And he says, let's not talk about it.
Well, do your best.
No, I will. I will. I'll send you a message. It's
You,
kind
you
of
can, you can send me woo-woo all day long, okay?
okay. Okay, I will.
All right, bye,
I will.
dear.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, Elizabeth,
Oh, you've gone.
there you are.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, good. Gary, following on from spiritual experiences, I met a woman a few weeks ago who I actually asked her to contact you. Whether she will or not, I don't know. She was a new mom. It was her second baby. She was in a park. And suddenly, she saw everything golden and shining and a whole different place, which is wonderful. Unfortunately, she then ended up in a perinatal mental health ward for a couple of months, followed by heavy medication.
Uh-huh.
So I pointed her into the direction of your website and asked her to look at other people's experiences. And I spoke to her about a week afterwards, and she said, I'm not mad, am I?
I'm not what?
I'm not mad.
Oh, I'm not crazy. Yes. Okay. Yes.
Yeah. So I think we need to talk more and more about spiritual experiences, because to think that somebody is actually locked up for having one, isn't that scary?
Well, yeah, and that's part of the resistance to all of this stuff that goes on. You know, anybody who's, I mean, that's woo-woo and da. Nobody's locked me up yet, but
Yeah.
my time may come. Yeah. Yeah, but I've got a lot of stuff on our blog about that, and I've got a lot of stuff on our website about that. You know, actual interviews of people and people. You know, So, well, you know, and there's near-death experiences by the thousands on the internet and so on. So, I mean, there's our quantum physicists are telling us it's all an illusion, etc. So, I mean, there's more evidence out there but that doesn't mean people are going to hear it.
No. As I said, as soon as she looked on your website and saw other people's experiences,
okay.
You know, she said to me, I'm not mad, I'm not crazy.
All right. Okay, well, good. Was that it, Elizabeth?
Yeah, just the other thing is, you know, how much, because you're going to be busy doing other things, you know, how much feedback do you want from us? Because that's, you know, I don't want to bombard you when you're busy.
The more feedback you can give me, the better.
Yeah.
The more you can give me, the better. Please understand, if I don't know what's going on, I don't know what's going on. And, you know, even if you send me something that is so routine, that's fine. I got another routine thing about this issue. Okay, fine. But if it's something else, oh, what's this? You know, and all of that's very, very, all of it.
Okay.
Okay.
That's great. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Elizabeth. Judith.
Hello, Gary.
This must be Judith Stewart. Hello, Judith Stewart.
Hello, Gary.
Yes, ma'am. You have a question?
I've got a couple of very practical ones really about optimal EFT, and I wondered if you could just run over a couple of the bits of it about the generating love side and hints and tips on doing that, and also the bit about being the other person, because I do tend to do that, but I don't think of what they've got wrong with them, because as you know, I do a lot of work in a hospice, and my folks have got everything wrong with them. So, and I often find it helpful not to know if they've got cancer or whatever it is. I know that they've got a life-limiting illness. I just tend to imagine I'm in their position in the chair, looking like them, but I don't go any further and imagine I've got their tumour or whatever. Does that matter?
Okay. The first question had to do with the generation of,
yeah,
and that's really kind of an individual thing. I mean, what I originally put out in our first webinars was to, you know, you want to get quiet, you want to be in a loving state, and often that you can bring that about just because you can remember a loving time in your own life with a pet, for example, or a person or whatever. Even a movie you saw where you felt in a very loving state, you know. So it's just to enter that loving state. It's sort of ability to be quiet, and that's in the same time you're inviting in the unseen therapist. Now there's varying skills in getting quiet. It takes practice to do it. And getting the loving state, and how loving a state you get into. I mean, there's degrees of that, you know, and all this becomes practice. And so, you know, I don't put down a bunch of must-dos in this regard. It's more the idea of it, to get in a loving state, however you wish to do it, from your point of view, okay? I mean, for some people, they may want to get in some very erotic state. For somebody else, they just may want to think about petting their dog. For somebody else, it may just be a walk in the park and how they could hear the birds. You know, it's just, it varies all over, but the idea is to get quiet. But this is a way, this is like opening the door for unseen therapists to come in. Ah, okay. All right. Now, the other thing about being the other person, we talked about that a little bit. I tend to want to be the other person because I don't really, I mean, I may imagine myself with all their issues, but it's more like I'm referencing it rather than I'm actually have, you know, this deteriorated lung or whatever the case may be. I mean, I imagine myself like I would be imagining myself being you with a deteriorated lung or something like that. But it's not like I have a deteriorated lung. It's I'm you with a deteriorated lung.
Yeah.
But if that's difficult for you, if there's an empathic thing in there, then, you know, just share love, share, as I said earlier, you know, with unseen therapists, or share with your client or the other person the love with unseen therapists, and share what goes on, and share the healing, and so on. I mean, I'm sort of repeating myself a bit, but was there something else I needed to say, or you have a question about?
No, it's more just what I tend to do is, because my folks have got so much wrong with them, I imagine I'm them, but I don't get too far into, well, they've got a tumour here and they've got secondaries here and they've got something there and whatever. I just imagine I'm them and they're not very well.
Well, yeah, and what I will do in a case like that, when there's just so many things,
yeah.
And this is kind of global, but sometimes with unseen therapists, being global is okay because you get stuff we don't get with tapping, okay? That doesn't mean we don't want to be specific or learn that tool, but it means we can get more done globally than we can with the tapping, okay? Yeah. So when someone has this whole laundry list of stuff, I'll be very quiet, but what I'm really understanding in all of that is that the ultimate problem, the ultimate cause for all of those things, every single one of them, is the belief in separation. Or you could also say unresolved emotional issues. That's a layer just above belief in separation, okay? Yeah. And so I'll imagine myself, metaphorically, I may do something like, I feel all these emotions are jitters, like that. That's just how I metaphorically create it. It's an emotional jitter in the system, okay? Unresolved stuff. And I bring in unseen therapists, and I typically do it in my own way, and that is I have a little waterfall come down, maybe a cool waterfall. Maybe this jittery is all red, and the cool waterfall comes down and just calms down the jitters and makes the red into blue or some pastel color, or maybe I'll hear music and stuff like that. But that's me kind of overriding my own. That's for me, okay? Unseen therapist doesn't need all that, okay? but it knows that I'm efforting in this direction lovingly in behalf of somebody else, and will do everything it can given whatever's on the table at the moment. Okay, so that's what I do. It's just practical. Other times the person is not able to go through their 426 events or, you know, issues and all the civic events that went with them and all of that, you know. And sometimes if you take care of one of those, by the way, the rest of them go too, you know.
Yeah. And often with my folks, it's not the things that are wrong with them that's a problem. It might be just they're anxious.
Yeah, but they're anxious for a reason.
Oh yeah, and we'll deal with the anxious because they're going into hospital the next day or something.
Yeah.
So I deal with that.
Yeah, yeah.
But don't concern myself with all the rest of it.
Yes. Okay, great.
Thank you, Gary.
All right, thank you, Judith. Oh, my friend. Oh, here's Rebecca Bish. She's been around here talking for a little while. Rebecca, hello.
Hi. Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine.
Okay. First of all, let me just say I'm so excited that you're going to be doing this, that you're going to be working on a book because, oh my gosh, it's for me. I'll be your first paying customer.
Wait a minute. The first copy is autographed and it's $40,000. Do you still want it?
Oh, the second customer.
Okay, go ahead.
Perfect because, I shared with you amazing results, and then it just, you have this miraculous tool and you want to use it for good in the world, and, and then I got out and, hit some walls and some, and developed some concerns about how it was being used and even whether it was appropriate to be offering, or actually people were coming to me, I was kind of like Gabriella. I was very quiet about it, and then so this is perfect because I've been helped with some of the discussion about that you and Sherry had following these concerns that I had, but I think to have a book that I could literally read and just sort of be reminded of, or even a guideline. So, sure. Thank you. Okay.
Was that your?
Yeah.
Okay. There's no question beyond that.
No, that's it. I'm very
great.
excited.
All right. Thanks, Rebecca.
Thanks.
Okay, Vivian and Mike Warwick, who would be next?
I'm in Cambridge in the UK, so hi.
Hi.
Is that me you're talking to?
I think so.
Oh, great. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, great. Thank you. Hi, Gary. So nice to be on this call. Yes, I'm actually an EFT person. I'm actually a teacher. I'm a music teacher, but I use EFT all the time now, actually, with my students and those around me. Well, okay, it's like using or engaging the unseen therapist. I find it a little bit hard to kind of transit between normal EFT because I help with like exam nerves, I help with, a lot of things actually using EFT, the actual tapping. And while the unseen therapist, I think if I use it, say when I'm teaching, it actually takes a long time to get quiet and so on. And sometimes in the heat of the action, when the needs are the highest, it's probably harder to get to use it. But I actually think it's something that at some point, if one can say, I use the word teach, but to actually let others know to invite their own one when they're working on their own things, that would be so great. So, so that's just really just what I'm kind of, getting in my own life using this and EFT.
Yeah. Yeah. Hold on a minute. Let's take care of this just a minute. Okay. When you're teaching, are you teaching young children, adults, what?
Usually late teens to early 20s, so they're pretty proficient already. And so they actually get to, at the brink of turning into professionals, and they're getting into competitions and things like that.
Well, as far as using EFT in that kind of environment, optimal EFT is probably not, at least in its way it is designed currently, probably not going to be the way to go about it, because you're going to have to deal with a lot of different spiritual understandings, and some people will be very resistant. Even though we do this as non-denominationally as we can, you're dealing with a whole group of brand new people. You are certain to run into, differences of opinion, and some of them will be quite dramatic. Okay.
Yeah.
So in that case, I would tend not to do that. But one thing you can do, let's say you want to deal with, let's say, test anxiety. I'm just going to make that up, okay? You could just go ahead and do some tapping for test anxiety. It can tend to work. Tend to work very nicely. You could also augment it. You could augment it by doing surrogate EFT for the group. Now, if you look at some of our earlier webinars and some of the stuff on our website, you will see that I have, sitting here in this same chair I'm working with right now, addressed 100, 200 people in a group that are all gathered together someplace. And I will ask the group, this isn't test anxiety, but it's the same idea, to identify a physical ailment of some kind, a discomfort, a little headache, sinus thing, or whatever it may be. And about 80% of the people typically have something. And then they'll identify it. They'll give it a number themselves, like it's a 6 or whatever it is, okay, on a scale of 0 to 10. And then I'll just be very quiet. I'll close my eyes, and I will do optimal EFT, bring an unseen therapist for everyone. Okay, I don't even know what their issues, their ailments are, for everyone. And after I'm done doing that, I do 2 or 3 rounds. 60, 70, sometimes 75 or even 80% of the people get a result. It may not be permanent, it may be partial, etc., but they get a result. So using that same idea with a group of people, your classroom, for example, as they were doing their tests, you could just simply be quiet and imagine them having test anxiety and unseen therapists reducing it. In addition to tapping you may have done ahead of time. You may also just do what we call conversational EFT, and then you could just simply be sitting in front of the class talking to them, but at the same time bringing in unseen therapists for everybody. They don't even know you're doing it. Okay? It's just you being in a loving presence is what they will see.
Yeah, I think I need to practice that, because when I'm talking, it's very hard to really kind of have that quietness, that feeling or connection. Sometimes it's so easy to just get lost in like daily life things. So.
Well, yeah, and conversational EFT may not be as accurate as being quiet and all of that, but I've gotten some great results with it just having conversation. Somebody would say, well, there's one already on our website. Somebody had a chronic back pain. It was an 8, and I was just talking to her about it. Where is it? Back here? Where exactly? She stood up, she showed me, etc. And we're talking about it. In the meantime, I'm just mentally asking unseen therapists to come in, and darned if it just didn't go away. From 8 to a 0, boop, gone. Okay. So, I'm only pointing out that while it's not perfect, and you don't always get great results, put it in your tool bag and practice it. And in group situations like this can be very valuable, and so on. So.
Yeah, well, it's definitely valuable for me to calm me down for a start.
Yeah, okay, well.
I don't transfer this nervous vibe, expecting them not to do well or something.
Yes.
Anyway, another thing is, like, now that you're doing this as your last, get together of this sort, you'll probably once you're done with the book, you will resume this, or is there another place where we could, say, converse with people in the group? Say, for instance, I'm just thinking about, say, these Facebook groups that people can post, or do you not like that?
I have nothing to do with Facebook. If you guys want to get together on Facebook, please do.
Okay.
If you want to, you can. We have a a listing of people who want to be in groups on our website. You can email me about that. And if you want, just say starting a Facebook group if you want to, and I'll just put that on there.
Okay.
And if anybody says, oh, Facebook group, well, maybe I'll just try that one. You know, I mean,
Yeah,
I'll be happy to
compare notes, you know, because right now we can send feedback. I've once sent a very short feedback to you weeks ago. But what I'm saying is, like, we write to you, but we have no, you know, like way of conversing. Say if someone posts something that we kind of post and answer quickly, that kind of thing. But never mind. I'm not sure that's, you know, probably got to be like a lot of people wanting to go on and then start to get a bit.
I do expect to resume these webinars in time. I do expect to do that. So it won't be gone like forever or anything like that. But I do expect to.
Now, so one request, if you, when you write your book, maybe you should mention some things for teachers because it's been very helpful to me to have learned EFT. And I definitely think that, you know, if I kind of keep practicing and get into a little bit more of the optimal, you know, techniques, then I'll be able to use that as well. But it's nice to have some kind of, you know, direct, that you directly address some teaching issues as well.
All right, got a note down.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Vivian.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, last one here is Mike Warwick.
Hi, Gary.
Hi, Mike.
Hello. It's sort of picking up on Vivian's point and your point when you were mentioning that there's a list of people who want to be in groups on the website.
Yes.
And we had a conversation yesterday with the group with you know, with Claudia and Kalua and Isabella and Joanna and Linda. And I was wondering, is a space now to talk about the power of doing optimal EFT in a group, because we've been finding it to be just quite incredible doing it that way.
Yeah, and let me mention this. I started the idea of groups here a year ago or something like that, and people got together in groups. Some of the groups worked out well, some of them didn't. A lot of it had to do with with the people's motivation for the groups. Some were simply there not necessarily to learn about the tool, but rather, you know, I've got my shoulder hurts and I want you to fix it kind of thing, which is okay, but that's not the overriding goal. And somebody got to run it. So not every group worked out well. Some groups have worked out very well, including the one you're on. But if they work well, they can be phenomenal, and I think that's what you want to address. Am I correct?
Well, yeah, and I know Claudia, she's on the call, and I've seen Linda and Kalua are on the call as well. They might have something to say about it, but just the energy and the results, and there's a bit of a way of working that we've developed that seems to work really, really well. I thought since people might want to know about that stuff, or they might want to, you know, think about it for themselves as well. And maybe some guidelines from you on that. Well,
there were some really, I forgot which webinar it is, but there were some guidelines in one of our earlier webinars. Webinar, I don't know, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, somewhere in there. You know, we had that topic. We had somebody on that really ran the webinars well and gave all her criteria, you know, for doing that, etc. So, I don't have that on my plate currently because I want to get this book and other stuff done. But I can certainly see that as, you know, a major. I know you guys are getting a lot done. I mean, I was actually part of your group yesterday. You guys are getting a lot done. So, is there more you want to say about that?
Kind of. I just kind of encourage people to do it and find people. You know, somehow the right people come to you, and the process has been really, really surprising because we found ourselves doing things that we didn't think we'd do, talking about things we didn't, and just it's becoming more and more like being a kid again, and just playing and making new friends. You know the way you make new friends when you're really little and you go, hi, will you be my friends? It's kind of, hi, my name's Michael, be my friend, is just really, really nice. It's very releasing and refreshing.
Yeah.
It's making it easier to do all of the kind of professional things that I have to do in the world, because I've just got a different energy,
You've got a different energy. Your take on things is different. You were telling me yesterday, I believe, that somehow or other things are opening up for you. People are contacting you never thought would contact before. Doors are opening professionally and otherwise. I remember that right, did I not?
It's true, yeah, it's true. And being an unseen therapist is, it's like a voice, that I don't know, like somebody stood behind me saying, "Oh no, it's okay. This guy's doing." I mean, there was, after I'd spoken to you yesterday, an insane thing happened to me, which was I had to get a train, and I ran really fast to the train, and I just got it at the last minute, and I had to get on the back of the train. I sat down, and I just didn't notice. And near the end of the journey, I turned around, there was a bag next to me. I thought, "Oh God, somebody's left the bag." I opened it to look for, the person's contact details, and I found thousands of dollars worth of money and drugs in the bag. To cut a long story short, I took it to the police the next day, and the guy was booking it in, and I could hear unseen therapists talking to me and saying, just chill out, just be chill. And the guy didn't seem to be doing it, taking all the stuff right, and the voice was just saying, look, he's just playing his part on it, because the person who lost the drugs is the person you're meant to be helping. Because it was some 19-year-old kid, I could tell from the ID.
These were illegal drugs or drugs that somebody needed for their health? No,
it was serious illegal drugs, yeah.
Oh, okay, all right.
And it was just tons of money and tons of drugs, and the voice, I was getting a bit, that kind of stuff's a bit freaky for me. But the unseen therapist was saying, listen, it's okay. You're part of helping this person, hand it into the police, so that then, so you're just getting guidance on every different level,
Yeah, yeah. And that's one of the things that happens the more we get together with the optimal the unseen therapist, the more we do this practice, the more we start to get guidance in other areas. It's just like a dear friend who wants to be our dear friend, but we've cut the cord.
Yeah.
And if we reestablish the cord, you've got nothing but this overwhelming bit of love, guidance, and everything else that keeps showing up. And the more you do it, the more it comes.
Yeah. So I think for me, and maybe the others on the group would want to say something as well, is that it's the group that's been it's been just this massive rock. I think Linda said it's like a rocket being fired from a rocket or something like that.
Yeah.
It's just incredible that if you get in the right group, the right people on the same wavelength.
Yeah. Okay, great. All right. Anything more, Mike?
That's it.
All right. Thanks. Okay, Claudia.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, just to say a little more on what Mike just shared, and you did. What we all felt, was obviously that we were actually guided to each other, but that we are supporting each other. It's, the group effect for all of us has been more profound, but we see that, in the past webinars as well, people say, the energy that they feel, when the 180 people are doing the work together, they feel more of a profound effect. Whether it has literally something to do with specific people, our little group tends to think that makes things elevate quicker. The effect is more significant for us. Yeah. And each of us said, it was rather interesting, even people that remotely work with us when we were doing work, we would just think about each other as the group. And, like we said, we had so much energy that it would just calm us down just to connect to the group.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that, the group itself was supporting us in the work.
Mm-hmm.
In any way, remotely, it's sort of surrogate work.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, great. Yeah, all for it. I wish we had hundreds of groups just like yours. Maybe someday we will. So anyway.
Another quick question, actually. we actually talked about this as well. Is there any concern, has anybody shared it with you, or do you have it, that optimal could be changed, or to use a negative term, bastardized like gold standard has been in the past? Do you believe that unseen therapists will prevent people from doing that to this form, this elevated form of EFT?
I don't think unseen therapists is going to prevent anybody from doing anything. I mean, if remember, it's a free will kind of thing. So if somebody wants to start a war, they start a war, okay? and so she's trying to deal with the loving other side of that and how not to start the war in the first place, okay? So is she going to stop, you know, optimal EFT being so distorted and diluted as EFT has been? No, maybe, but I don't think so. But what I'm trying to do is give this open hand to people like I did with EFT, which has its positive thing. It's more easily spread. There aren't legal fences and all that stuff, okay? But this time, the term is trademarked. That's a legal kind of thing. But I also have on there, you know, the ethical part about all this. If you want to borrow from this, from optimal EFT, and do some other kind of thing, God bless you, do it. Just don't call it optimal EFT. Call it, you know, Joe's therapy thing or something like that. But don't use a brand name that stands for one particular way of doing things. Do something else, even though it's somewhat similar, and call it the original. That's what's happened with EFT. And it's so confusing to so many people, and so many people are just, well, anyway, that's another thing. But well, I don't know what's going to happen. I am guided not to put a bunch of legal fences around it. So
no, and we thank you for that, because once again, you've given an enormous gift to all of us. And frankly, you know, as you were saying that, I was thinking, how can somebody accurately use optimal EFT if they're not doing it correctly? It won't work.
Yeah, there's something about it that it probably wouldn't go very if it would sputter, because it doesn't have the real stuff behind it. But who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Okay, anything more, Claudia?
No, thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, hold on. Kalua.
Hi, Gary.
My favorite voice on the planet. Go ahead.
Hi, Gary. I just wanted to express probably what everybody on this webinar who's ever even been able to share and be a part of this webinar, our gratitude to you, our immense gratitude to you, and our love for you. I have such tremendous love and gratitude, and I know that our group does. Everybody's nodding their head, and this isn't the end of a webinar, it's just another level, and we're all so grateful that we can have this opportunity. So Gary, thank you. Thank you.
Does that ever feel good? Okay, great. All right, a number of people wrote in, and they had other questions, and I didn't get to them directly, but I think we answered most of them, I hope, through all of this. So we're going to, thank you so much, Chloe, that was very nice. So I'm going to bring on Sherry. Any last comments, Sherry, before we close this down?
Well, Gary, I'd like to thank you also for allowing me to participate in these webinars. It's been a joy, and I thank everyone for indulging me in my discussion of Course in Miracles, especially since I'm sure some people maybe aren't interested in it. So thank you for your patience. And on that note, if you'll indulge me a half a second more, this is a journey, and it's one worth taking. The goal is inner peace, and just everyone, I suggest we all be patient with ourselves. There's no reason to hurry or try to accomplish anything in any amount of time. The goal is always to choose the right teacher, the unseen therapist to choose that way of going and being and living our lives as opposed to the guard at the gate. It's just a constant choice that we are presented with, and that's the ultimate goal, to be at peace. And from that peaceful place, miracles happen. And so I wish everyone many miracles on their journey.
And Sherry, although we're not done, and you will be back, we are going to resume this in time, My big hug to you. We've had many conversations. You've helped us immensely. And so while we are pausing for the moment, we're not permanently drawing the curtain. Kiss to you, Sherry. Kiss to everybody else. Big hugs to all. And I'll see you when the time is right.